What use does dream interpretation serve for a first contact specialist? When people dream of you channeling through a body like Daryl or myself, do the human channelers also gain the experience of the dream?
Yes. And it can be a way to practice the idea of bringing higher frequency energies and making connections telepathically to different beings. Remember, you
So
do a
that
lot of things in your dream state as practice for what you will ultimately experience in physical reality.
so if a person is having a dream of Daryl channeling you and they are remembering that, that is also something that Daryl can tap into and experience or get benefit from?
Well, it depends on if he needs to do so. It depends on if it's relevant for him. The channel has been told many times that he appears in people's dreams and that they have conversations with him. So, does he need to know that? Maybe sometimes he does, and maybe sometimes he doesn't. It depends on what he needs and what's relevant for him to know. That doesn't mean he's not active and interacting with other people in the astral realm from time to time that they may remember as a dream. And it brings the energy of us into play with them because the vibration in the astral realm would be very similar to our vibration as you experience it in this channeling. But again, does the channel always need to know that? No.
And since this reality isn't real and we make this shift daily to go into spirit and into the dream state,
Yes.
um, how do we better consciously exit this reality to control what occurs to us in this reality from above? Or would you define our existence here on Earth as a bubble reality?
We can define it as a bubble reality. It's an interesting and convenient way to talk about your particular universe. But that's again just an arbitrary label. If it works for you, use it. Now, the idea, again, of leaving the physical reality permanently, which I believe is what was being asked, is again, you have your own timing. You will leave when you're ready to leave. You will leave when you're done with the theme that you chose to explore, unless you decide to explore a different theme, which is now possible in your physical transformational reality. But most of you will have set up some circumstance where you will simply leave when it is time to leave, when you're done with what you're doing, with what you're exploring, like anything. And again, if you're always curious about when that time might be, as we have suggested before, you can always lie down on the floor, you can close your eyes, you can say, I'm ready to leave. I'm done with what I'm doing in physical reality as an experience. And then if you can count to 10 and then open your eyes, you're not ready to leave. You're not done, because it should be that easy to leave. If you are done, you would leave.
Wait, does that mean you can program having a peaceful transition when your time comes?
Why not?
How
And
would you
again,
program that?
well, again, clarify everything in your life so that there is no fear-based beliefs remaining, so that you don't have to believe that there's any suffering needed or anything like that. And sometimes you will know that many people, just before, a split second before something happens that might actually kill them, will already be out of the body.
What about those people who are loved and have really good lives and everything, and then at the
Yes.
very end, they
Yes.
have an extremely difficult transition into spirit, painful
Again,
experiences,
there's a
etc.
reason for everything. And it may have more to do with those that they're leaving behind in physical reality than it has to do with them. So again, as always, case by case, person by person, there's no one general, one size fits all to those particular kinds of experiences.
And I'm just thinking of the hybrid children.
Yeah.
What's a good way to know if you're having a hybrid child dream? What are some symbols that typically show up in the dream?
Well, this is a large subject and it can take many forms. Perhaps if you have a dream literally of a hybrid, that would be obvious. But if you also see animals in nature or nature spirits in your dreams that seem particularly mischievous, it doesn't mean it is a hybrid child, but it can be one taking that form to have some fun and play around with you. But there are many other ways in which you can perceive that idea, and too many to go into at this time.
There is one where people see like a jar or something with a being inside of a jar. Is that?
It can be a representation of the hybridization chambers that they are gestating in once removed from the womb. And therefore, it could be a calling card that hybrids will use. But again, it depends upon the hybrid child.
So if a child was in that state or stage of development as a hybrid, and you're there as in the dream state, you can communicate with that being at some stage similar to human fetus that is
Yes.
inside the body.
Telepathically, yes. Just as in what you call post-hypnotic regressions, you can take a person back into the womb and they're communicating telepathically with many different things.
Do these fetuses have the capability of communication right away, or do they have to reach a certain stage of development?
The communication can happen right away, but that simply may be coming from the spirit itself rather than through the fetus. If the fetus is not developed to the point where telepathic communication is possible through the brain, then the communication telepathically would probably be coming directly from the spirit that hasn't really fully connected with the body yet.
I see. And do all hybrid children speak English, or how do they speak to each other? Do they have other languages
Well,
when
they
first come
speak
here?
telepathically, but they are learning some different languages that exist on your planet in order to blend in ultimately. But telepathically is what they use mostly among themselves. They do practice different languages and have a lot of fun with that, especially when they get something wrong. They laugh a lot.
Will they have names when they come here, or do we give them names?
It can be either. It's up to them to choose. Most of them will choose names from nature. But again, some of them may allow the adults that they meet to name them. It depends. Again, these are personal things. It depends on what they are attracted to do.
And the age that many of the children will be when we finally meet them here.
There will be exceptions, but most likely the concentrated range will be somewhere between 7 and 13.
And as a 7-year-old, though, they would be much higher functioning than a 7-year-old in our particular
Well,
species.
they will be much higher functioning than a 7-year-old used to be on your planet, but many 7-year-olds now being born on your planet are extremely high functioning.
Yes, we have noticed that. It's amazing what some of the kids can do now.
Yes.
I've noticed that some people are unaware of the different frequencies the 5 hybrid races normally vibrate at, and they become confused when they're hearing that a general interaction with Sasani beings is not appropriate right now, but only interactions with grays is possible. And can you summarize what the typical vibrational levels are of each of the 5 hybrid races and compare that to present day humans?
Yes. Well, we're not going to go into numbers, but we'll give you a general curve. The idea, again, is that the grays themselves, being hybrids, are still operating on a relatively low frequency. The frequencies got higher with the next version of the hybrids, the Mizani, and higher still with our civilization, the Sasani. But then it was recognized that the vibrations had to go down somewhat, or at least be altered in a certain way that became more compatible with humanity at a certain level when humanity reaches that level, in order for the blending to take place that would allow Earth to evolve into the 6th hybrid race. So it kind of went up, and then it kind of went down, but not exactly down as you understand down. It simply was altered in a way, flavored in a way that would allow the 4th and 5th hybrid races, the Shayayel and the Yayayel, and of course the Shalanaya, to still exhibit high frequencies, but the high frequencies that would be compatible vibrationally with evolved humans when humans are ready to have open contact with them. So you kind of see a peak and a decline, but not a decline in the normal sense. an
I see.
alteration.
The decline doesn't mean that they start thinking negative thoughts,
Correct.
basically.
It's more of an alteration that is done in order to make them more vibrationally compatible with interacting with humans during open contact.